guys, welcome back to my channel. I actually feel a little bit rusty. I can't remember the last time I filmed a video, so here we are. In today's video I just want to share with you some of my absolute must-haves when it comes to caring for houseplants, things that I use on a daily when I'm caring for my plants, and things that I use to help grow my plants into the big beautiful specimens that they are and that I try to achieve. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So my number one houseplant must-have is clear pots. So these have actually changed the game for me. I have saved so many plants from overwatering or poor soil or like pests in the soil because of clear pots. So this really changed my plant care routine and plant care game when I was first starting out, and when these were starting to become popular. They are so handy. So not only can you see the plant's roots through the pot, you can see when the plant may need watering, you can see when the plant may need a repot when it's fully root bound, you can see if there's any pests or nasties in the soil. When you repot them, you can actually see and make sure that all the soil and roots are all sort of jiggled down nicely and there's no large air pockets in the soil. But yeah, I love and I swear by clear pots. As you can see here, this one has been watered not too long ago, so you can see that there is still sufficient moisture in the pot. You can see a bit of condensation on the pot, so I know that this pot is, or this plant is well watered and it doesn't need a water for a little while, so I can just go ahead and put that back. And I also like to use cover pots because plants' roots do seek out darkness. So while clear pots are really good for us, they're not super great for plants' roots. So I highly recommend also using opaque cover pots to keep the roots in a nice dark environment that they like. So this is an example where obviously if it wasn't for this, but I could clearly see that there are lots of roots in this pot. So this plant is probably due a repot pretty soon, and it is also quite dry, so this plant could do with a water. So yeah, highly recommend using clear pots. It'll help you so much when it comes to looking after your plants, and it also helps teach you a lot about when you need to water, when you need to repot, all that good stuff. It just gives you that visual that you need to really learn the process about caring for plants. So yeah, clear pots are my number one houseplant staple. So my next houseplant must-have is a really good support. So find one that you really like the look of, that you like using. I personally really enjoy these plastic grow poles. I really like the mesh design in the front. I like the fact that they are super easy to put together, super easy to extend when you need to, and I also think they look quite aesthetic and they don't draw too much attention away from the plant. So these ones that I have here are a New Zealand company called Plant Thingy. These are probably my favorite type of grow poles, the Plant Thingy ones in particular. So if you can see, this pole has different notches here, so you can actually create a deeper pole or a shallower pole depending on where you clip the sides into, which I really like. So obviously if you have a plant on a pole that you know has a really big robust root system, you can set it to the largest setting so there's plenty of space in there to grow. If you put a plant on a pole and you know it only has sort of a fine root system, or it takes a while to establish a decent root system, to save on substrate you can make a smaller shaped pole. I also like that these come in black and clear, which I personally think both look really good. So the other pole design I like are also made by Plant Thingy, and they are a new design to them. I have used these in the past. If you watch any of my previous videos from a long time ago, you'll know that I had a real love-hate relationship with these poles, and I've been working quite closely with Plant Thingy and we've sort of worked on a design that is really good. So it's a nice sturdy backing, and the mesh at the front was my biggest pet peeve. So the ones that I could purchase a long time ago had really small squares, so when it came to repotting the plant I was having a lot of issue getting the established roots out of the mesh front without completely destroying it. But our new plant thingy ones have bigger squares, so it is a lot easier to get the plant's roots out once it is established on the pole. So yeah, I really enjoy those as well. In terms of support, there are a lot of different options you can choose from. So you can choose these plastic style grow poles. You can choose the traditional round moss poles, which are just round chicken wire filled with moss. There are also cocoa coir poles. There are just like plant stakes. So yeah, there are lots of supports to choose from. But my number one favorite are these plastic backed grow poles. I highly recommend giving them a try if you want to start growing some of your plants on poles and you want to see that leaves mature and grow. This was the size of the leaf of the plant before I put it on the pole, and as you can see, it is gradually upsized. This is the newest leaf, and it is so much bigger than all the previous leaves, and it has a new leaf coming. Putting climbing plants onto grow poles is a great way to get them to mature and grow larger leaves a lot quicker. So as I said before, highly recommend trying a grow pole if you haven't, and yeah, I just love them. The next plant care item I highly recommend trying out if you haven't already is some sort of a fastening. So when you put plants on poles, they obviously need time to start growing their roots into the pole, and this is what I love to use. So this is plant velcro. It is soft on one side, so it protects the plant stems, and obviously it is grippy on the other side. The reason why I really love this is you can cut it to any length you need, so depending on whether you want to just hold up a little stem or you want to wrap it around a pole to hold a plant onto a pole. So that is really great. It is so easy to use. You can also cut it down the middle to make a thinner strip of velcro if you don't want to see a big strip of velcro. So you can either use it, like I said, you can wrap it around a stem to hold a stem onto a pole, or you can wrap it around the whole plant and the whole pole to hold the plant onto the pole until it has rooted into the pole. Once the plant is rooted into the pole, you can just take the velcro off and the plant is ready to grow, and you can reuse that velcro for another plant. So yeah, highly recommend plant velcro. It has been a game changer. Obviously you can use it for other things as well around the house, like cable management, holding things in place. It's just really handy, and you can get different colors. So there's black, there's green, there's all sorts of colors. I personally like black, just think it looks a bit nicer. So the next thing that I highly recommend to up your plant game is a good range of plant food. So I personally like to use Growth Technology Foliage Focus. I find that this one works really well for my plants, and I have noticed a huge difference in their growth and their overall health since using this product. I also add in a bit of their root zone, so that really helps establish a strong and healthy root system for the plant, and obviously this provides the food to grow the large lush leaves. And in terms of propagating, so like cutting seedlings and all that sort of stuff, I like to use their Clonex Clone Solution, which is a specific plant food for cuttings and seedlings. So those are my three absolute staples. As you can see, I use them a lot, and this is my little plant food tub. The moment I started using a really good quality plant food and using it regularly was when I actually noticed that my plants were starting to grow larger leaves. They were starting to grow a bit more quickly. Their root systems were really starting to establish, and they were actually getting some decent size on them. So I was the kind of plant parent when I first started out that I was so lazy. Like, I did not feed my plants at all, and I wondered why they didn't look good. I wondered why they grew so slow. Then I sort of started with that granular plant food, didn't really notice much difference. And then when I started using Growth Technology Foliage Focus and using it regularly, it has really changed my plant collection. So this plant really needs a water, so just excuse its slightly curled leaves. But the one plant that I really noticed the feed work well on was this Cebu Blue. So the leaves were starting to fenestrate and mature slightly, but they weren't really picking up size until I started feeding it regularly, and now these are the leaves. So yeah, I've really noticed a dramatic increase in the leaf size since feeding regularly, and obviously being on a grow pole also helps as well. This poor thing, I am going to water this once I finish filming. And the last thing, so this is my number 5 houseplant must-have for growing large lush plants and really helping your plants thrive, is a good quality substrate mix. So again, along with the fertilizer, a good substrate has really helped me grow my collection to what it is today. And as you saw by this plant before, its roots are incredible, so much so that they are growing out of the pot. The roots in the pot are incredible. So yeah, a really good quality substrate is an absolute must. So before I even started my shop, I was trialing different substrates, I was making different mixes, finding out what worked really well for me, what my plants responded to really well, and I came up with 2 mixes. So I have my Wildvine Hoya and Aroid mix, which is a really chunky, beautiful mix. This is it here. This is my one of my Monstera elbows, and this mix I like to grow all my climbing aroids in, my Hoyas in, any plants that have a really chunky root system and like a nice free draining soil. So the other mix I created was my Wildvine houseplant mix. This one retains a bit more moisture, so it's really good for plants like begonia, peace lily. It is good for aroids and Hoya if you are an underwaterer, because it holds a bit more moisture for a bit longer. For example, this is my begonia, which I have planted in this mix, and it is doing beautifully. It does need a water. All my plants need a water. But yeah, so I created these 2 mixes, and it seems to cover pretty much all of my plant collection. So whether the plant loves a really free draining mix or a plant likes a bit more water retention, I found those 2 mixes work so well for pretty much all of my houseplants that I have. I really encourage you to try out a good quality substrate mix, or if you like mixing your own, you can totally do that as well. There are so many awesome soil amendments that you can use, like pumice, perlite, fern fiber, cocoa chips, orchid bark, anything that gives the soil a nice chunky consistency. Highly recommend. So I think that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. My top 5 houseplant must-haves for a thriving collection. Everything that I can will be linked down below. If you're in New Zealand, I have a website which has all of these products in, which I'm so grateful to have, because before I even had my shop, I was using these products or similar, and once I got my shop, I really wanted to try and find like the best of the best. So I'm really proud of the products that we have online, and I do genuinely use them and have used them for a long time. And if you are overseas, I will try and find some links to some of these or similar items that you can shop for yourself and give them a go. Let me know a must-have that you use, which I haven't or might not have mentioned, down in the comment box below, and we can help everyone grow nice, lush, thriving plants. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and if you haven't subscribed already, I would absolutely love to have you here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!